Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with another in the away end opposition preview. This time we're previewing Chelsea against Aston Villa, and joining me in the away end today is Charlie from Blue Brother CFC YouTube channel and also Chelsea Fan TV. How you doing, mate? Good to have you on the show.
Yeah, no, mate. First of all, thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here. Yeah, I'm doing good, mate. We're doing reasonably well, which makes a change, makes things a lot better. And yeah, mate, this is a big game Sunday for both teams.
Exactly, absolutely. Guys, get your comments in, get your thoughts on the game coming up. Make sure you smash the like button as well and hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 5,000 subscribers. Yes, Charlie. So obviously, I think all of the talk before the season was about how would Maresca come in and how would he deal with the squad, and the upheaval of some players that he kind of directly told, look, you're not part of my plans, which in my opinion is absolutely fair enough. But everything has been pretty settled at Chelsea. He's dealt with the players really well from the outside. The players seem to know where they stand. He's got a squad for the Conference League. He's got a squad for the Premier League. And at this moment in time, mate, it's all going pretty well.
Yeah, it's almost going worryingly too well. You're sort of like waiting for something bad to happen because there's going to be an inevitable dip at some point and we will go through a difficult run of form. But right now, mate, it's gone so much better than any Chelsea fans would have expected. And I think Chelsea have done a lot better than just many football fans in general would have thought. I mean, obviously, we finished last season pretty well under Pochettino. Obviously, another change in manager, you're sort of thinking, well, is that momentum we built at the back end of last season, is that gone and we're going to have to start again with a very inexperienced manager? I was a little bit sort of, maybe, yeah, a bit skeptical, I guess, in terms of what to expect from Maresca. You've got one season at Leicester City to go off where he did what he was expected to do. He won the title, but Chelsea have identified him as a manager who fits the way that they want to play, and they like his style of football. And fair play to him. He's come in, and from day one, he's got the players on board. He's been very honest. He's not afraid to make big decisions. And he's got us with a clear identity and a clear style of football. And right now, everything he's doing has been working out very well. And it feels like both on and off the pitch, we're the most stable we've been since the club got taken over by Bowley and Clearlake in 2022. This feels like a real settled period. And there's a real feel-good factor around the place that has been missing over the last few years. So, mate, everything he's done right now has been brilliant. But obviously, I think the real test is going to be when we do go through a dip, which will happen, and we do maybe go 3, 4, 5 games without a win. How do we respond to adversity? How does Maresca respond to difficult periods? And how do these players respond to a difficult period? We haven't had that yet, thankfully, but that's going to be the big test for me is when that does happen, because then we'll find out a lot more about this team, because it's all easy and stuff when things are going well. But you really find out about your team and your managers and your players when things aren't going so well.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously he came in off the back of a promotion with Leicester. Pochettino kind of never really endeared himself with the Chelsea fan base. Obviously finished the season well last season. But what have you noticed? You've mentioned a couple of things there in terms of his kind of direct way with the players, and that everyone knows where they stand. And I think the fact that Chelsea aren't in the headlines for the wrong reasons is testament to what he's done. But what have you noticed on the pitch that Maresca's done that's been so refreshing or been so different to last season?
I just think we've got tactics, basically. I think under Pochettino, there was a lot of it was very much sort of pass to Palmer and hope for the best kind of vibe. It didn't really feel like we had much tactical awareness in the team, much of a tactical setup. Now, when you watch Chelsea, you know exactly what we're going to do. We're going to build up from the back. When we're attacking, we're going to attack in a 3-2-5. The fullbacks push on a lot. One will invert into midfield. Sometimes we've got fullbacks inverting into a number 10 role. And we're going to be hard to break down. And we're very, very dangerous going forward. Yes, at times the playing out from the back can be frustrating, but you can kind of you kind of put up with it and accept it when results are being produced on the pitch. And it's the sort of football that when it's going well, it's great. But if you're not getting results playing it, then obviously that's when kind of the problems might occur. But do you know what? Generally speaking, we're an enjoyable watch. I've not been to many games this season where I've thought, Jesus, we were absolutely terrible. That was a dreadful game to watch. And I tell you what, I've been to a lot of them over the past couple of seasons. So it's just nice to have when someone says, "What a Chelsea," and you can actually explain what we are. Whereas beforehand, it was like, well, I've got absolutely no idea what we are. It's very much what we are is going to be what we are on the day. Now I can tell you exactly what we are, tell you how we're going to play, and it's just refreshing to feel good about your team again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Villa are on a little bit of a dodgy spell at the moment. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, I mean, Villa fans, we've had that for the last 2 years, 2 and a bit years since Unai Emery's come in, and it is phenomenal just to walk with your chest out, with your head held high, just to be like, our team is doing well. It matters a lot to us football supporters. So yeah, and I think one of the differences as well one of the things that he's got. Strength he's got at the moment is that if you do go through a bit of a dodgy spell or there's a few players that aren't quite playing as well, I mean, he's got some phenomenal players to bring in and replace them if you're not doing your job properly.
Yeah, look, we've got an embarrassment of riches. There's no two ways about it. And we took a lot of criticism in the summer about the squad size, about the amount of players that are at the club. I tell you what, one, no one's talking about that now, and secondly, there's quite a few clubs that would love to be in our position heading into this busy festive period. You're in a embarrassing position where, if you want to give Jackson a rest, we'll play in Nkunku. If you want to, if you like, who do you want to play on the wings? Do you want Pedro Neto? Do you want Madueke? Do you want Mudryk? Do you want Jadon Sancho? Do you want Lavia or Caicedo in midfield? Do you want Enzo Fernandez? Like,
all right, stop showing off.
Yeah, so we're in a position now where we can make changes to the team, and because the depth's there, the drop-off in quality is not that big. And the biggest thing for me is, right, and this is a sign of a good coach and a well-coached team, is that whatever the pieces of the puzzle are, it still works. So you can make those changes, right? We make 10, 11 changes pretty much every Thursday we're playing Conference League.
Yeah.
But the performance is still the same. We're still playing in the same way and the players are doing the same job. And that, for me, is the key thing, is that no matter who's playing, they know exactly what to do and they know exactly what their role is.
Yeah, it's really impressive. It's really impressive. On to Aston Villa, before we kind of talk specifically about the game, we are still in contention in the Premier League, been in a difficult period of late, but it's very tight in there. I think we're 3 points off you at the moment. But what have you made to Aston Villa this season? We've had obviously a really good start to the season, done well in the Champions League, had a decent draw, in my opinion, against Juventus, big European side, but not quite been at it, in the Premier League. What have you kind of made of them at the minute?
Look, no doubt Villa are going for a difficult period. I think you've not won since sort of first couple of weeks of October in the league. But having said that, if I was a Villa fan and a bad spell and you're 3 points off third place in the Premier League in December, I tell you what, that's not a bad spell, is it? I think Villa are exactly where I expected them to be. They're bang in the mix in the race for the Champions League places. And yeah, look, the results haven't been that great recently. I think defensively is a little bit of a concern. A lot of space is being left, particularly being hit on transitions, goals being conceded from your own corners and things like that. If you want to finish in the top four or get that European football, you can't be defending like that on a regular basis. So that's probably one thing that obviously Emery is fully aware of, that the defense has got to improve. But I think it's a great squad. You strengthened really well in the summer. You're playing very well in the Champions League. You've got quality all over the pitch. I think Boubacar Kamara and Onana is a fabulous midfield. Watkins, Duran, Morgan Rogers, who I'm a big fan of, Leon Bailey. Like, there's threats all over the pitch. And if you can just tighten up defensively and not leave so much space, which is not going to take too much of a tweak, it's just a little few things here and there, Villa are banging contention for what they should be doing. And it's always a lot harder the second time round once you've kind of overachieved, in a sense, last season in terms of getting that Champions League. it can be quite difficult to back it up. So, but I think Villa are right in the mix. I really like what Unai Emery's doing, and it's such a transformation because I was at that game at Villa Park a couple of seasons ago, which I think ended up being Gerrard's last game when we won 2-0, or it might have been its penultimate game.
It was going up. It was
Yeah.
edging to that when he kind of talked about Chelsea. You know, when the likes of Chelsea come to Villa Park, we'd be lucky if we get a draw or something like that.
Mate, the feel around the place now, I've been a few times in the last couple of years since Emery's been there. Mate, there's a genuine excitement around the place again. It must be like, for a lot of Villa fans, it must be the best period they've ever had in terms of support. The club.
It's absolutely phenomenal, and it is difficult to not get a bit entitled or a bit spoiled. You know, I think we need to get that intimidating atmosphere back at Villa Park in particular, where we are, you know, going with that mentality of not saying, "Oh, come on, Villa players, show us something, and then we'll get behind you." It's like, we need to get behind you now to get you inspired. So I think that's something that is starting to come back a little bit. We're seeing the likes of Leon Bailey, Ollie Watkins got back in the goals last week. You know, John McGinn's starting to get a little bit back into fitness, and Boubacar Kamara is massive for us. Like, he allows Diego Carlos, if he's playing, to be better. Maybe Ezri Konsa might be back on Sunday. Matty Cash is better player when Kamara's there. Leon Bailey's a better player, so he's massive for us because he just allows the other players to be able to play. So yeah, you're absolutely right, and like I say, it is difficult to not get a bit carried away and a bit disappointed, but I think we just need a couple of decent results to really show that we're back in that kind of over that bad spell, which is hopefully on Sunday. Now, onto the game, we do have a pretty decent record over the last couple of games in the Premier League against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. So how are you feeling about this upcoming game on Sunday against Aston Villa?
Mate, it's going to be a tricky one, you know, and you talk about the table being really close. There's 3 points between us. If we win, we make a 6-point gap, which is not a massive gap, but you know, that's a little bit of breathing space. Can afford to lose a couple of games and, you know, still be ahead of, you know, a big rival for those Champions League places. Even at this early stage, you know, having that distance would be a big thing for us. But equally, we lose, which could easily happen, and suddenly, you know, it bunches right back up again, and we could drop down to 6th or 7th place. So this is a huge game. It's one that, I mean, it could easily go either way. Like, obviously, in terms of you know, the result and stuff. But yeah, you said you've beaten us the last 2 occasions at Stamford Bridge. You've done a job on us. I think obviously we're better than we were in those previous 2 times. I think you've improved as a team as well. I think there'll be goals in this game, because I would say right now defensively is probably both teams' weakest point. Even though, like, both teams aren't dreadful defensively by any account, the defense for sure for me on both sides is probably the weakest area. And the one thing that I'm hoping for is that you still leave a few spaces, because we've got the players that on a transition we can cause loads of problems with the pace of Jackson, you know, the skill of Palmer, pace of Neto, Madueke, if it's Jadon Sancho, whoever it might be. You know, we've got those players that can hurt them. So yeah, if there's those spaces left, then it could be a long afternoon for Villa. But if you tighten up defensively and make it difficult for us, then yeah, it's gonna. I think it'll be a very, very even game. And look, you've got threats all over the pitch, and you know, this is going to be a very difficult game. But if we were to get the win, I think, I don't want to call it a statement win, because it's not. I don't think it's like sending a message to the rest of the Premier League, but it would be a really big win for us, and kind of show that, yeah, do you know what, we are kind of here to stay, and we are, you know, rightfully one of the favourites to get into that top 4.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll ask you maybe a tempting question in a bit, but in terms of, you mentioned sort of the threats that you guys have got going forward. Obviously, Cole Palmer gets the headlines. Madueke is doing well, but how impressed have you been with Nicholas Jackson? Because obviously he's got a link with Unai Emery as well, from Villarreal. They apparently thanked him for telling Villarreal not to sign another striker, which allowed him to kind of develop his game a bit more, I believe. And how impressed have you been? Because he got a lot of criticism last season, but for me, he still scored goals. He's a striker who's going to miss chances. Very much similar vein to Ollie Watkins. You know, he kind of always gets criticism with Villa fans. Sometimes I'm criticizing him as well, but ultimately they're still in those positions to get the chances, and they still carry on. They still carry on regardless, and that's something that you've got to applaud as well.
Mate, I've been so impressed by him. He was a relative unknown when he came in, and the mad thing is, like when he come in last summer, he would have been a Bournemouth player in January 23 if he hadn't failed a medical. He was going to join Bournemouth, and then then it's a completely different story. Might have had to end up paying maybe 70, 80 million quid for him a couple of seasons later, but. Mate, I've been so impressed by him, to come in really raw, inexperienced, to get 14 goals in your first Premier League season. That's very, very good going. He was overly criticised last season, in my opinion. Yes, he missed a lot of chances, but, what strikers don't miss a lot of chances? And this season, he's come on leaps and bounds under Maresca. His all-round play has always been very good, but now he's added that his finishing's gone up a level, and he's now burying those chances. He started every single Premier League game this season, and in my opinion, he is a 20 goals a season striker in the Premier League. With the amount of chances we create, if he can stay fit, this season he'll get 20 league goals. There's 26 games left at the moment, right? If he stays fit for the whole season, he needs a 1 in 2 strike rate to hit 20 league goals. That for a striker, 1 in 2. I'm not saying it's easy, but that's very, very attainable. And I've just been so impressed by him, mate. And for 32 million quid, when you're talking about strikers going for silly money, I think we've got ourselves an absolute bargain there.
Yeah, no, he's a good player and he's very dangerous, and he tends to do well against Aston Villa as well. So I'm pretty worried about him as well. In terms of the game, where do you think it's won or lost on Sunday? There's so many good players on show. You've talked about all the Chelsea players. You've also mentioned the Villa players, whether that's Rodgers, Bailey, Watkins, Tielemans, Kamara, McGinn. Both teams have got some really good attacking players and players who can cause a lot of problems. But then you're saying about the defense as well. So is it going to be the attacking talent on display that's the key to winning the game, or is it going to be whichever side manages to keep the either side at bay?
I think it's a bit of both, really. Yeah. Obviously, yeah. Look, defensively, if you give us opportunities, it doesn't mean we're going to score them, but if you give us a lot of chances, the chances are that we are going to put 1 or 2 of those away. I think it's a fascinating matchups all over the pitch. I think the midfield battle is really interesting. If it's Kamara and Amadou Onana up against maybe Moises Caicedo and Lavia, or Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, I think that's a fascinating matchup in the middle of the park there. Very physical midfields with Onana and Kamara. I'm not sure how well we deal with physicality in midfield. I wouldn't be surprised to see Romeo Lavia start this game, even though Enzo Fernandez had a brilliant performance against Leicester, just to maybe try and combat that physicality and to be able to get around the pitch a little bit more. Even though Enzo Fernandez can get around the pitch, Lavia probably offers you a bit more defensive steeliness than a Fernandez would. I think that's going to be a fascinating matchup in there. And then, yeah, for me, it's going to come down to which team defends better. At the end of the day, both teams have got the quality to create chances, and I think it really will come down to who makes the least defensive mistakes. And it doesn't fill me with confidence that you've got a very, very good goalkeeper, and ours is anything but that. So yeah, I think what Robert Sanchez decides to do on the day could have a big bearing on the result as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I trouble you for a score prediction to finish up the show, you mentioned kind of that win and where that might propel you. Would you suggest that beating Aston Villa would then put you in the title race?
Oh no, absolutely not. No. we're just taking it one game at a time. No, we're not. I don't think we're not ready for a title challenge. We're not experienced enough. I don't think there's not enough quality in certain positions for us to go and do that. But having said that, I'm very much just approaching this just one game at a time, and let's kind of see where it takes us. The win would be massive for us in terms of creating that gap between one of our big competitors for that top 4 spot. But look, this season seems to be shaping up to be the most competitive in recent memory. There's so many teams that are so close together, and this season, more than any other season, it really does genuinely feel like anyone can beat anyone. Like, it wouldn't be a surprise to see Man City go and beat Liverpool on Sunday.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be like you can't rule out any results at all. So anytime you can get a gap on a close competitor for your goals, you really, really need to take it. So yeah, no, we're not in a title race, but I do believe that, look, getting into the Champions League is the aim, whether it's fourth or if top five get it, if it's fifth, whatever it is. But if we keep doing what we're doing, that for me, I think we could potentially have an outside chance of finishing third. But yeah, third or fourth, whatever it is, I'm going to be getting a Champions League. But I think talk of a title race is a little bit premature. So I'm not thinking about that. But you know, you just don't know if we're 6, 7
Liverpool
points.
haven't had a bad run yet either, have they? So you know,
I mean,
they seem to be.
Were still in the, if we were, let's say, come January, February, if we were within 5 or 6 points off the top, then maybe you have a bit more of a serious conversation about it. But I don't think anyone seriously really thinks we're in a title race.
Yeah, no, this December period is huge for every club. You know, the lads who do the podcast with me were WhatsApping saying, you know, it's a tough run of games, but every team's going to say that it's a tough run against every team. There's, you know, out of 7 or 8 games, you're going to be playing teams that are you challenging for the top 4 with, or the top 6 with. You're also going to have a sprinkling of teams that are battling relegation that sometimes are the harder games than the ones with the teams that are challenging. So there are going to be some strange results in this December period. So yeah, let's just strap in and enjoy the ride. Basically, I think it's going to be interesting all the way. Charlie, thank you so much for joining, mate. Let me before we get a prediction off you, where can people find you on your various media activities?
No, mate, thanks for having me. It's an absolute pleasure. Yeah, literally, guys, you can find me over on Chelsea Fan TV, and you can find me on my personal channel, which is on the screen now, at Blue Brother CFC.
Fantastic, mate. And thank you for jumping on. So, yes, what are your thoughts for score and scorers on Sunday afternoon?
I think we've got enough to get a narrow win. I'm gonna back us for a 2-1 win. Scorers for us, let's go Nicholas Jackson, and I'll go with Pedro Neto.
He was out, wasn't he, the other day? So is he?
Yeah, he was out. I think he's meant to be. Yeah, I think he's meant to be back. Yeah, so hopefully he is.
He worries me as well. So yeah, you have got a lot of good players that really do concern. I'm gonna plump for, I think, a draw, a third successive draw in a week for Aston Villa, but I would certainly take this one. Let me say 2-2 draw. Ollie Watkins and John McGinn with the goals, and yeah, fingers crossed we can get out of Stamford Bridge with a decent point. Like I say, thank you so much, Charlie. Much appreciated, and best of luck for the season after Sunday. Guys, we will be back later tonight on as in Friday night for our full match preview with the boys. So make sure you tune in for that. Make sure you smash the like button as well and hit that subscribe button. Help us on the road to 5K, and get your comments in below, your thoughts on Sunday's upcoming game. And thank you all for watching. And as always, remember, we'll follow the Villa.